Hey there, welcome back. This is our second to last video in the series, Why I'm Confident in the Church. I'm David Mason, and if you saw the title of this email, it said, We are each other's harvest. I want to talk to you about our corporate response to emboldening our hearts in love for the church. Now, in our previous video, we talked about our individual role and how we're supposed to actually bear along with one another and give people the benefit of the doubt. But what does our corporate response mean, and why do we even really need to have it? I would actually venture to say that the communal expression that Christ is wanting to birth right now in the earth can only come when we engage with one another in accountable vulnerability. But what I mean by accountable vulnerability is doing life together in a way that actually provokes and challenges you. You might be thinking to yourself, I don't want to do that. That seems way too involved, and I don't know if I want people to know those things about me. I don't want people to think I'm weak or that I'm not as holy or righteous as I want them to think I am. I understand that. I actually think that's one of the biggest hindrances to our Christian growth, because we convince ourselves that we shouldn't be in community. We shouldn't fellowship with one another. We shouldn't ask those tough questions because it's uncomfortable and it's taboo in our culture. Now, to start off with, I think it's helpful to note that the scriptures show Jesus took individuals from all over with varying backgrounds, and he put them into a community. He allowed them this expression of fellowship and bonding, and he allowed that process to work down those disagreements so that by the end of his ministry, they partner with one another and they see the end goal in a greater way than they see all the little disagreements that they have. That's the idea that I'm talking about. This corporate expression doesn't just mean you fix yourself and then everything else moves on. It actually means that you put people strategically in your life so that they can ask you the tough questions and you can ask them the tough questions. If we're to look at anybody, it would be the Apostle Peter, who at the end of his life pens the epistle of Peter, saying, You have been built up as living stones. Each one of you are individual living stones, but you're being molded to build a temple for Christ, for God. It takes hundreds and hundreds of stones to build a building. And yet, here we are, each one individual living stones, carved out, set aside for a purpose. But it only works if we fit next to one another. And how many of you know that when the stones are put together to make the building, they have to rub, they have to chip down, they've got to fit just right. And sometimes it's a tight squeeze. But the beauty is the end result. We're being made into a vessel, a temple holy for the Lord. That's a beautiful thing. Imagine this. The psalmist says, one generation will sing your praise to the next. In heaven, what will it look like for our generation to be declaring the goodness of God to Peter's and Paul's generation? What about to Abraham's generation? What types of things will we say to David's generation? We will declare the good things, the works of Christ that have been manifest in us, both individually and corporately. And it will be a beautiful symphony mixed together to promote and praise his glory. That's something worth celebrating and pushing through so that we can embrace and obtain a high calling, which is the unity of the body, confidence in the church, in one another, in Christ. So before you go, I actually want to extend an invitation. Many of you have watched these videos from the very beginning, and Allie and I are so appreciative. We are almost at the end of the year, and that means that it's the perfect time for a year-end gift. Whether you're considering that, or maybe this is the first time that you've heard about the possibility of giving a year-end gift, I want to invite you to prayerfully consider, ask the Lord if He would have you sow into our ministry. Allie and I are able to give the fullness of our strength through partnership with people like you. And we're so appreciative for that honor and that ability to run side by side with other believers. The link is below, and every gift is tax deductible. Thank you so much in advance for your generosity.